So I have a main reverb. Only the snare sum goes there. You can see I'm EQing the signal going into the reverb. Filters, taking out a lot of stuff around 400. Let me try to solo it. There's the crush bus going on. Let me mute that. So this would be the reverb. You can hear without the EQ. Okay, it's a lot brighter. There's a lot less of that boxy sound before going into reverb. And this is the reverb, is an impulse, is the Studio B from the Bricasti collection. As it comes, I didn't touch anything. But I did distort the shit out of it. With my URS saturation. Tube amp, tape deck. Set to stun. Make it grainy. Make it nasty. You can see this input is +8, so I'm hitting it hard. I want it to distort. Okay. Then we have a second reverb for snare, and it's extremely simple. Again, the signal is EQ'd before hitting the verb. And there's another EQ after it, but we'll take a look at that later. So let's hear without the EQ first, just the verb. You can see the settings, a room, large. Very simple. Filters. EQing the signal before going in, just removing, some mud around 200 and filters. Sounds like this. Just not to excite the reverb in that low mid frequency down there, which we don't need here. After, we have more EQ. Focusing on the mid and removing post reverb. Mod and low end and high end, which we don't need. The two reverbs together sounds like this. So we have our saturated impulse and this bright room with the drum. With the parallel channels, which excite the reverbs even more. And here in the bridge, we have an additional sample, which is this big snare. It's a sample from a Korg drum machine. It's an old Korg. So let me solo this. And this comes in just in the bridge. This is what it sounds without any processing on. There's volume automation. The first hit is higher in level. Filtering, taking out some bottom end, and it sounds like this. Add in reverb. The impulse is the Hall 1 stock that comes when you open, actually, the Waves convolution reverb. And EQ after the verb. Limit bandwidth, contain, and removing unwanted frequencies. You can see the settings. Let's open up all the drum channels in this spot here. Okay, so the big snare samples just for the bridge to add an element and make the drum sound really, really big. So these were the single channels for kick and snare. And let's take a look at the drum bus. Let's mute the 2 parallel channels. On the drum bus, unfortunately, guys, I'm missing my hardware drummer 1978, and there is no goddamn substitute for it. I cannot find a plugin that even come close to that thing. What I was doing with the drummer was a pretty common setup for me. So 2 to 4 dB of compression, mostly triggered by the snare, and because I keep the high pass filter engaged in there, and my saturation, the saturation knob was around 9 o'clock, so it would be 3 from 0 to 10. That's where I usually hit it, and just, you know, to get the light get a little red on the highest peaks. And if you don't know this, the VU meters turn from yellow to red when the saturation kicks in on the actual unit on the hardware. You have a visual reference for that, and that's where I usually keep it. But yeah, I can't find anything that comes, you know, even close, so I'm not even trying. Sorry for that. So on the drum bus, I'm using SSL channel, removing a little bit of boxiness around 450, pretty common. Filters, you can see 47, 18, and I'm using compression. Without it, so a little SSL push with the EQ and the compression. Then there will be my drummer, which is not here. Then the Mag EQ4. Notice what I'm doing here in the low end. I'm reshaping, adding sub, and removing 40 with the bell. And adding the airband, which is usually what I use the Mag EQ for, just the airband. But in this case, in the low end, I did some sort of pull-ted trick, adding subs and removing, you know, the bell at 40. Then the best Slate plugin, which, you know, is free. It's kind of funny, but, you know, it works great. Revival from Slate, adding a little bit of thickness and a little bit of shimmer, is exactly what it does. You know, they named them, the 2 controls, correctly. It is exactly what it does. A little bit of growl, low saturation with a thickness, and this very, very nice shimmer without. Okay. Pro Q2, just 1 dB at 11K, and this notch 10 dB at 40K. And you see the trend. I had too much 40 hertz energy coming from the kick, and most likely I needed it for the bass. So that's why the reshaping with the Mag EQ taking out at 40 and an additional notch of 10 dB here. So not that obvious, but think about this. We have two parallel channels which are now muted, and every move we do affects these two, especially the API 2500 parallel channel, because the whole drum goes there. And now we're gonna take a look at it. Not much the crush distro, because kick and snare go to this crush distro before going to the drum, but everything sums. So yeah, every move that I'm doing here on the drum bus affects the API 2500 parallel channel as well, because the whole drum bus goes there. Lastly, on the drum bus, we have what it was my dirty little secret that now everyone knows, the soft clip engaged on the Elysia Alpha. Nothing else, not compressing, just soft clipping. Without. Transient installer with disengaged. It's more contained. Especially the snare sits in the drum kit better. So yeah. And then our drum bus, as I said before, goes to my API 2500 parallel channel. I usually have the hardware, which I don't have here now. And so we are using the waves to try to do the same thing. Nothing on the SSL before that. These are most likely the settings that I had on the hardware, which I don't really remember. But yeah, the whole point of this parallel channel is this. Okay. So not completely crashed, but, you know, compressed enough to give thickness and more density to the drum. And remember, the whole drum bus goes here. In fact, this goes directly to my mix bus. Okay? Let's hear it with and without. Okay, there's more of everything. There's more ambience, but there's also more punch and more information in the mid channel. So it's really a better maker, you know, this parallel channel, especially the hardware on drums. And let's add our crush distro mono kick and snare smashing channel without first. Let's go a little bit. Listen how important is the crush distro. Even if it's not with my distressor, which I usually use here, it's very important for how strong the mid channel of the drum is. Without. Okay, so again, just to recap the routing, all the kicks go to the kick sum aux channel, all the snares go to the snare sum channel, and kick and snare sum go to the mono crush distressor channel, which goes to the mix bus out. Then all the single channels of the drums go to the drum bus there's processing on, and then the whole drum bus is sent to my parallel API 2500, and it goes to the mix bus. Let's listen to the mix one more time. So this was it for the processing for kick and snare of this mix, Colors Void, Mess. So quite some processing, but the mix was really dense, as you heard. I went pretty fast with the description, but this wanted to be more an overall view of the processing and the routing more than focusing on precise settings, which are not that important really. But if you have any question about what we've seen in this video or this mix or anything else, leave it in the comment down below and I'll get to it. And that's a wrap. This is it for this video. I hope it was informative, guys, and I hope you liked it. If you did, please don't forget to hit the like button. Join us on Facebook and Twitter to stay in touch with us and get all the news about the channel, upcoming videos and series, and access to exclusive content. Please keep supporting MixBuzz TV by sharing the videos and spreading the word on blogs, forums, social media. Subscribe if you haven't already, and see you next time.